Why do you think I didn't press the live button?
I don't know, because you can't see me. All right, Kristen, I think we're live. Who knows? We got a big old goose egg on our calculator in this little appy thing, so hard to tell.
Goose
Cool beans.
egg.
Goose. One. Now we got the one.
Uno.
You know what I noticed? All right, so
Mhm.
I've been playing. I actually beat, like, no big deal, the new Zelda game, which is the first Zelda game that is actually about Zelda. You know, like all the games
Oh.
have Zelda in it, but you play
Mhm.
as Zelda the protagonist, which is really
Mhm.
fun. Do you know what I'm talking about on Switch?
The Switch game that you were telling me about, right? Just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Echoes of Wisdom.
Mm-mm.
Cute little game. Lovely. If you have kids, I would firmly recommend it. It's like filled with a bunch of, I don't know how to describe it, because like I don't consume a ton of kids like content or literature, because like I don't know if you can
Oh, it's
tell.
chibi.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's
I
very
realized
chibi.
that.
Yeah. But like obviously I don't consume a ton of kids stuff because I'm not a child, you know.
That's
But
questionable based on this show.
yeah, I did update all my bios to say weird internet kid, because I think that is the best little snippet to describe my energy.
Mhm.
But anyway, so it has nice little like lessons and micro education about like, oh,
Mhm.
somebody's a jerk, you know, that bad thing happens to them. When they're nice, good things happen. So like I think that's fun. But I love the little mechanic where the whole thing that you do in the game is you basically take like an image of an object, like a table or a
Mhm.
tree or an enemy, and you
Mhm.
create what the game calls echoes. And
Oh.
so like if you know take a snapshot of like a table,
Mhm.
you have a certain amount of like power, but you can like make 6 tables and stack them up and climb over a thing.
Oh, that is very neat.
And apropos for a meme conversation, because
Mhm.
memetically spreading things through copy and, you know, reproduction elsewhere is the life
Ah,
cycle
this
of
is where this
memes.
is going.
Yeah.
Fine, that was
But
a good payoff.
no big deal. I beat it last night. I can at least
Oh.
play the same level of difficulty as children. So,
Well,
you know, there's that.
no guides, no cheating?
No, I don't know if Nintendo Power exists anymore, but I did not need to bust out my Nintendo Power or my Game Shark. Shout out to my Game Sharkers out there.
Oh, I was thinking like so the GameFAQs is still alive. The last time I
Game
checked.
Faxes,
Mhm.
but like I don't are people okay, I love the concept of anti-memes and I want to get into it. It's just it may be too esoteric for the first 3 minutes of the show. I don't know. Chat, you tell me.
I was
Art
indeed
Kristen.
very confused, and I was already thinking, okay, how can I bridge Zelda to memes?
Don't worry, I got you.
Fine.
Memetics is my love. The All right. Kristen, I was almost late today, and I'm very sorry about that. I want to apologize. I normally am more on time. My life is falling apart. So
Well, I this is something I say a lot at home too. It's okay, I'm used to it.
excuse me? No, that's fair. I've been like, all right, so here's the thing. I don't live in Boston anymore, but
Mhm.
the space where I do my recording from is in the city. And so I have to get to the city. But like if I don't get up at like 5:30 on the dot, I
Mhm.
miss the traffic window to get into
Mm.
Boston. And so like
Mhm.
it's basically like I have to be on my way by like 6:45. So 5:30 lift, shower, leave by 6:45, and
Mhm.
then that way I can get to Boston in like, you know, 20 30 minutes. From 7 to really like 10, it's like an hour plus. And so I
Yeah.
try, if I hit that window, to leave at like 9:45 so that I
Mhm.
like get in with the 30 minutes. But it's raining today and Bostonians can't drive, and so it
Is it
was just
true that like other memes about Bostonian people driving true? Like
yeah.
I'm literally scared.
Yeah, no, it's not good. I would describe it as malicious, maybe
Mhm.
malignant, and probably incompetent. People will rip K turns in the middle of the city
Why?
so that they because they
What
need to go the other
started?
way.
I'm imagining like some like Victorian carriage back in the day where this all started.
No, New
Some
England is
rude
just
horse.
it's a lawless place. Like the city is cow paths and stuff.
Mhm.
And I don't know, Fremon, did I make it in time? You tell me.
I replaced the camera with a very realistic simulation while
Yeah,
he's late from traffic.
no, I'm
Yeah.
Cambot
Yeah, and Cool Beans, you're
at
playing
your
Mario and
service.
Luigi Superstar on the Game Boy Advanced.
Dang, dude. Like, is it an emulator or actually a Game Boy Advance?
Yeah,
That's
you're
crazy.
emulating.
Yeah, I'm actually a big, Nintendo might come after us for this. I'm a big fan of emulators. I sometimes whip out my N64 emulator, although they're porting a bunch of stuff to the Switch.
Yeah, it seems like Curious Hermit Gwen is considering focusing on memes in grad school. That is super cool.
I unironically encourage that. I think
Mhm.
Memetic Scholars is going to be one of the most important like sociology adjacent fields of study in the next 2 decades.
Yeah, it is
Unironically,
the
no
field of
jokes there.
influence.
Yeah.
We have a few more folks joining us. Hi, Priyanka. Hi, Fuckhook. Long time no see.
Kristen, I also, I was a little stressed about getting here on time,
Mm-hmm.
but I got a way to make myself feel better about it.
Okay, what is? Oh, you got freaking Uncrustables.
I got some Uncrustables here.
Okay, fine. I totally also have a stack of Uncrustables in my freezer. So it is indeed the breakfast of champions. And for those who don't know, it is like pretty much the trashiest thing you can possibly buy.
There's no
Like,
way.
and then
It's too
2
expensive to be
pieces of
trashy.
That's true. It's a
Too
very,
expensive
like,
to be trashy.
expensive version of a very trashy thing, which is, like, 2 very soft, like, pieces of white bread with peanut butter and jelly.
Look, you're
But they also
offending
come with
my
peanut butter
culture
and-
right now.
and honey.
This
No,
is
I'm
offensive.
saying I like it, and I mean, I say trashy in a comforting kind of way.
I mean, PB&J is a classic. And Kristen, if we ever make it big and we
Mhm.
become big old YouTubers,
Mhm.
one of my creator little businesses is going to be protein rich Uncrustables. I want to
Oh.
make that a thing. That would
Mhm.
100% be like a bodybuilder fitness snack of du jour. I love it. So this is
Totally.
the inside of an Uncrustable.
I
It's
think Barcock is giving away the fact that they're not American.
wah, wah, doxed.
Well, I'm glad you're getting your breakfast in because that has been an issue for us, right? Like just
Yep.
showing up a little behind the scenes. Like we noticed that after we're done with the show and we're trying to do our after action review, we're both like starving.
Yeah, we're so
The mood's,
hangry.
crashing.
Like
Yeah.
we're gonna release these at some point, but
Mhm.
Kristen and I record ourselves, and we always just like, the show went well. I'm so hangry.
Yeah. So you're we're getting into a class divide with the sandwich, so we're gonna move on.
What the
And Cool
heck is an
Beans
onion
is here.
sando? That Cool Beans. I literally made a face at that, and I was like, I don't know what an onion sandwich is. Is it just onion? Does it have cheese on it? If it has cheese on it, I'm in.
Yeah, please let us know. And then GM Mikado.
Kristen, why do you like memes? Actually, no. Before we do that,
I feel
what
like
is
that's
a
a bit
meme?
of a loaded question. Do I like memes the way you like memes? I'm not sure.
I'm not
Like,
trying to gatekeep.
well, fine, but like I think there's like different categories of memes, right? Like, so I have like friends who are not on Farcaster or who like signed up and then just like ghosted. And like every once in a while, I will copy and paste image from Farcaster to one of my little Google Hangouts, and I'm like thinking to myself, ah, yes, this meme has breached containment into the normie world where I feel like it can be shared with no context and it still lands. So I
Yeah.
think for me, it's like it's become a vehicle for sharing a feeling for when we are like a little bit on the spectrum kind of like we don't really want to talk about feelings, but we want to talk about the feeling of a feeling. So instead, I will share this JPEG square that contains the feeling and send it to you through cyberspace, and then you go haha and exhale through your nose, and it will feel connected for a microsecond.
So, I mean, every single thing that you send to somebody else contains units of information. I'm
Mhm.
a huge Claude Shannon stan. Shout out to any Claude Shannon stans in the chat. But Claude Shannon wrote literally the paper on information theory and like how to
Oh, I do
mathematically,
know that one.
it's like how do you quantify what communication is happening between two parties?
Mm-hmm.
And like once you start thinking about communication in these terms, where you have a sender and you have a receiver, you have an
Mm-hmm.
amount of signal that gets transmitted through a medium, and then there's some noise in
Mm-hmm.
that signal, which could be like contextual, it could be the media, like as part of the medium, it could be like the receiver spills some coffee in their lap when they're about to read. Like once you start thinking about it in those terms,
Mm-hmm.
you realize that memes are just highly concentrated, like nuggets of signal that you can
Mm-hmm.
pass around the internet. And that's what's
Mm-hmm.
really, really fascinating to me.
I agree. I had to learn the Shannon's law for looking at cells under the microscope.
Yo, that's cool.
Yeah,
Say more about that.
because in a way, like looking at a microscope, it is about like light information theory, right? What you're
Yeah.
seeing presents in part of the cell, and a lot of discoveries are actually in plain sight. The only problem is that the microscope that we have isn't good enough to see it. So
Yeah.
like that actually is a way in which like we in the lab I was in was able to make certain discoveries. It was just because our microscope was slightly better. So then we could see like some small detail about the way the cell acts that other people couldn't.
Can you make that super real? Why, like, how was it
Mhm.
better? Was
So
it like
like
a better lens? Was there like some computer aided like filling in of data? Because a lot of those are electronic
multiple things.
microscope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a better lens. So it was a Zeiss microscope, which is top of the line. We
cool.
also had this like item called the Apotome, and it might be a Zeiss like exclusive thing that
Yeah,
it runs like scan line filters through an image at different
cool.
layers. So you're
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
removing the out of focus information in every plane.
That's
So
so
then when
sick.
you like squish it back together, you get like a 3D image. And it was like a primitive way to get these 3D scans. And we
Dude.
happen to have that machine. And it's actually much easier to use than like there was some of these even more fancy laser microscopes because
Yeah.
those you gotta like have a whole setup, and if your staining is not done correctly, it's still blurry. So
Like
what's like this,
spectrometer type stuff?
not even that
Okay.
is even more like high res, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
there's a time where I think this is like a 10 years outdated already, but there was a time when there were these like laser based microscopes that were even more fancy.
Yeah.
But I think it was like you have to hit this like weird like technology sweet spot where
Yeah.
you could match your like staining technique, which is how you dye the cell, to the
Okay.
level of being able to see that with the microscope. And I was really good at dyeing
Oh.
cells. That was like as in DYE.
Unsurprising. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like painting. Like you
Yeah.
just have to do like a lot of washing steps that people don't realize. I wasted a lot of water, like because we were
For
like
science, that's not wasting. That's
science.
part of
I
the
know, I know.
process.
But we were literally like running the tap the entire time to wash after we stain, and that was also the other like technique like nuance that like if you read a paper's method like section you wouldn't notice that like the
Yeah.
number of times we rinse because like no one in their right mind would do it to that level. But I was like, that's how I could like tune in my OCD to be good in the lab. Was I was like, this is not clean enough. You've seen me go through these like OCD spirals, but imagine that applied to a lab technique.
Well, so that's like the thing, you know. I we make this joke a lot, but like I read this green text,
Mm-hmm.
like for that spawned from 4chan, but this green text about how the dude that would categorize all the beetles in the Tri-County area is now
Mm-hmm.
making YouTube videos about the location of all the rings in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, and like
Yeah.
that's you.
Exactly. And oh yeah, cool beans. So technically, like in the lab, when we say tap water,
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
science
triple
water.
ultra filtered water.
Yeah, you don't. Kristen ain't
not,
getting
not
that
the dirty,
fluorinated
dirty
water in
city
there.
water. Oh man. But yeah, I think like
That's sick.
that's what that's why memes are great, right? Because it's so like condensed and contextual. Yes, I'm
Good
trying to
morning,
bring it back to
banger.
the topic. Yes.
Oh, it's so bad but I love it.
I know.
right.
Thank you,
All right.
Isis.
So what's a meme? Just concentrated signal or something else?
So I back in like grad school? No, it was late undergrad. We did study memes in neuroscience. It was actually one
Interesting.
of it was the big early days of like studying memes as an academic topic. And the analogy
Yeah.
we made was like memes are like genes, like
Yeah, that
actual
was like
genetic
that's the
information,
OG.
right?
That's where the term
Yeah.
comes from.
Exactly. And then for a time we actually it was so early that we were like, memes? What are memes?
I got a good
Like,
story about that. Please
unironically.
continue.
Okay.
All right. No. What you were saying? I interrupted. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Genentech. So
oh,
big,
cool
big
beans. Hey,
Gene.
so did I. We were actually coworkers.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, Kristen
Probably
Lore
not at
coming
the
up.
same time. And also I worked on the marketing side, not the cool science side.
Yeah. Shame.
Yeah. So yeah, like Issa says, a meme is concentrated sigma. What do you think of that?
I would say Skibbity Ohio Riz. You know what I mean? The like. Okay. So I think a meme is like this concentrated unit of signal,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think that there's some nuance in there where something can exist and
Mm-hmm.
not be a meme and then at some point become a meme. You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah.
and so there's like a dynamism to
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
that is like really hard to capture in like pure words. I mean,
And you've seen that happen many times with your creations.
yeah, I mean, actually I don't know what you're referencing.
Like, I mean, you take a lot of like memes from TikTok and you turn
Yes.
it into a meme on Farcaster, or like
One
there's
can
some
only
twist
hope.
that you do.
So what I do, what I one of my favorite styles of posting
Mm-hmm.
is basically like glorified remixing.
Mm-hmm.
And because like I love the concept of remixing, like pretty much everything that is ever made is just a remix of other things, which is
Yeah.
why like AI content creation is really, really sticky or like
I
really,
have
really
to
like
drop a bit of cred here for those who don't follow you on Farcaster that you have 238,000 followers based on
yeah.
memeing.
I mean,
So you
yeah.
do know a thing or two about this art.
There's a little sprinkle of inhumanity in there, but or a lot sprinkled depending on how angry people are about Farcaster on any
I'm
given
sure
day.
the bots also appreciate the memes. That's not declassify those.
Yeah, no, that's classified. The but all right. So what I really really enjoy is taking a meme from a different context and
Mm-hmm.
putting it into a context that I'm closer to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, some of it you just like it can copy like cat videos and stuff like that pretty much translate to every community because you see cute animal, you go, oh, that's cute, or it's funny or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the things that you can do with memes, and like people do this in group chats all the time, is they will take a meme from somewhere else and they'll add like a one-liner to it. So you're like contextualizing the video or the picture or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a way of translating the humor to the context that you're in, or like magnifying it by making a general joke a specific joke to a smaller group. And I think I find that endlessly fascinating to do. Priyanka, I don't think that we can like drop links in the chat, but if you DM us, we'll post about the thread. I think I've read that thread, but it's been a minute.
What is a 6529?
Oh, there's
a
a Twitter
moment.
account, Punk 6529 is like a large personality on crypto Twitter.
Oh.
Yeah. I think he's
PIL.
on Farcaster too, but I don't remember. Yeah, cats are universal meme code. I think because most of the people that built the internet are freaking nerds like us, and they
Mhm.
all had cats, and like that was the start. And then I'm going to make a gross generalization and say that introverted people tend to like cats and the internet more than extroverted people.
Oh,
other
that is
than
true.
Tinder,
Yeah, I've
you know what I
noticed
mean?
when people use dogs as memes, it tends to generate controversy.
Yeah.
Um.
Like,
mhm.
I love dogs too. I just like cats more. That might change. I'm trying to get a dog in the next few years.
Oh, you are. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Guess what
keep me
kind of dog
posted
I
about
want?
that. Is it anti-type where like you don't want like a Belgian Shepherd or like one of those? You want like a cute little fluffy white guy kind of thing.
No, and I'm going to go on the record of the internet that's saying I don't only want white dogs. I think that's something I need to announce.
I was like, I meant like a Pekingese, but it sounded vaguely racist.
Hey, look, we got a hater in the chat. Metanorm, don't worry, I hate you too, buddy. All right, so
Yay.
yeah. All right. No, I love dogs.
So going back to the idea of like something like turning into a meme. So
Yep.
I feel like that it has to have some sort of like participational like entry point, like it
Yeah.
can't be so niche that no one under can make like their own spin on it. So it has to have a remixable quality to
Yeah.
it, right?
Well, all right. So the beauty
Mm-hmm.
of, I think, the most effective memes, and maybe the horror, actually, I'm gonna say it's both the beauty and the horror,
Mm-hmm.
is that the meme that hits mass consciousness
Mm-hmm.
often really starts as like a hyper niche thing that people really
Mm-hmm.
identify with. In fact, a dark side of the history of memes on the internet is a lot of really, really popular things that have come out are
Mm-hmm.
born out of like intensely racist or sexist in jokes on 4chan, specifically the slash B like random channel. I don't know if you're aware of that.
The like the original memes that are now diluted into something more milquetoast.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do
like
know that.
yeah,
That's why I always have to look up on knowyourmeme.com.
yeah. There's definitely dog whistles in the negative connotation.
Mhm.
Like a lot of the, I would say like 2005 to 2012 internet era memes are just
Mhm.
like they would breach containment from 4chan because there's like something inherently funny about it, like it's like chibi or like kawaii or whatever. But you
Right,
know,
all the
it started
Wojaks,
out
right?
as like basically, you know, awful.
Mhm. All right,
Gwen,
and yeah,
Gwen, tell us more about Chinese memes. What's up, Mia? How you doing?
yeah, Chinese memes. I have like a vague familiarity from looking at some in Chinese Instagrams. Like they have their Wojaks are like different. It's like a guy who looks like a
Please.
panda and other ones.
Looks like who?
And they have their own like almost like linguistics of memes that are completely different. They have
Can
their
you
own
read?
low res pictures.
Can you read Mandarin?
Yes, I can very slowly, and I understand it when it's spoken.
I
But
didn't
like,
realize that. That's sick.
oh, yes, yes, it is presumed as a fob that I can speak my own language.
I'm not trying to be rude. I just
Actually, no.
we haven't.
That's why it says specifically Mandarin, right? And then like
Yeah.
and I know that you also like worked in Taiwan, so you're very quite familiar. But my main language is Cantonese though, and Cantonese people have their own memes that
Oh.
I don't really understand.
All right, I'm gonna be honest. You
Mhm.
just roboted out for me, and so I didn't catch any of that. But the
Oh,
energy was good.
oh, okay. I said that I speak Cantonese as my first, well, like second language, I guess. And
Okay, cool.
yeah, and they have their own memes that are not the same as the Mandarin memes that I don't understand. There's a lot of puns
I
involved.
gotcha. That's cool. I honestly, one of my life goals is to be able to read
Mhm.
honestly traditional Mandarin. Obviously simplified would be a lot easier.
Mhm.
Um, I fell in love with like at least the typography of traditional Mandarin in Taiwan. I thought it was very, very beautiful to see just like the world and the street signs arrayed with those
Did you
characters.
ever attempt to learn?
Yeah, you know, like I did the whole like counting and things like
Mhm.
that, but is very much a there's only so much time for self-study when you're because I did it mostly in the military, right? And so when
Mhm.
I was in the military, I lived in El Paso, Texas, before I was deployed. I didn't live with my partner, and so I just like would get home from work at like 9 p.m. because I was like the aide to that colonel. And so I'd get home at 9 and I would like basically 50-50 spend my time 70-30 doing physics and math stuff
Mhm.
and 30 like some Mandarin writing. But I haven't touched it since like 2018. So it's all gone.
Oh. Well, we can teach you a few more useful words in the future.
Yeah, that'd be a fun stream. Like watch Cameron completely bork the tones on stream.
I would watch that. Um, yeah. So, and then like Cool Beans bringing out that a lot of memes nowadays seem very much like a coping mechanism, versus a tool to spread revolution. Well, I feel like
I
certain countries, maybe the ones we just mentioned with the languages, are a little bit better about using memes to do that.
yeah,
But
I
yeah,
I,
like
I
in the
think
US, we're
anytime
all kind of floppy.
I don't know. I think that like revolution has a connotation that is like acute and violent,
Mm-hmm.
but cultural change is longitudinal. And
Mm-hmm.
so like I view a lot of the memes that you see today as like, a clanking forward of the gears of whatever social change we'll say invested parties want to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which ones are you most impressed by lately that did that?
one more time, Robot Kristen. I'm really sorry. It's just not coming through.
Oh, sorry. I'm okay clankering. I was asking which meme that caused a cultural, well, I should say those two words together because of, who knows what sensors that would trigger. Has caused a revolution in your mind that impressed you lately.
I'm trying my best. I cannot hear you. Chat, am I the problem or is Kristen the problem? Please let me know.
Okay. Well, I'm coming through loud and clear for myself, but as I learned, like that turns out it's because I'm watching my own local stream, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not what you all are seeing. But yeah, chat. Let us know. Am I lagging or is Cameron lagging? But yeah, like
Yeah.
so, I was
Th-
asking you which revolutionizing meme are you most impressed by lately?
Okay, got it. So I think there is a wave of memes
Mm-hmm.
concentrated at by a creator called Cities by Diana.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Diana has a really, really fascinating way of taking the explicit brain rot stuff that floats
Mm-hmm.
through TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
combining it with like a thread of patriotism, but it's like ironic patriotism in the US, and like putting it forward in a way that it's like earnest irony. And so like I really love those memes where it's just like, you know, gas Chad versus like walking simps, right? And it's just like, extolling the virtues of adding more lanes to the mega highways that are going through the cities, but it's like in a way that's basically like screw walkable cities, real Americans like drive giant trucks and then have 100-lane highways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it looks like I'm the problem with the internet, so we will figure out how to solve that later. But one thing I
Yeah,
have
for
noticed,
once, it's not me. Had to do
the
Hawaii Asians.
we gotta get you some hand
All right,
signals.
all right. I need to upgrade to the Korean heart. Um,
Yeah, I like this one.
that
Or
is.
what is it? This one. I think it's
Oh
this one.
wow.
Oh god.
See, you don't
It's
need to learn Mandarin. You're more up to date on the kawaii gang signs than I
yeah, no,
am.
I will become a K-pop idol one day. Mark my words.
Mm. So you like Cities by Diana? I do
I
too.
do.
It always reminds me of like Sam, our friend Sam. Well,
100%. It's very Sam
that
coded.
vibe.
Yep.
But then like does it help because now we are, yeah, we have Cameron throwing gang signs before GTA 6, correct? Like does it actually help us to realize how messed up US cities are or does it reach people who otherwise wouldn't recognize that?
I view it as like a beachhead or like entry level indoctrination.
Mm,
Indoctrination.
mm,
Like there's actually a really funny TikTok going around right now where a uh a conservative woman, self-proclaimed, is
mhm,
talking about how liberals don't realize that conservatives are talking in code all the time, but then they're like talking to each other in public in code, but
uh-huh,
then goes on to explain the code to be things like they have an American flag in their social profile. It
mhm,
says moderate, or they
mhm,
drive a truck, and I,
mhm,
and I'm and then obviously the comment internet or the like reply guy gal internet's like, you might think that's code, but everybody else just sees you.
mhm,
And so like I kind of view the Cities by Diana stuff as like everybody that already kind of thinks that way sees it and laughs at it.
mhm,
Everybody that likes brain rot TikTok, like just unironically, they're just like, oh, I love seeing a cat go skibbity skibbity skibbity, and then like they laugh at the thing, and then maybe when they see the 10th one, they're like, wait, I don't know what part of this is the joke. Like that's how like really impactful mimetic warfare happens. Is like you don't get it on the first one, you might not
Mm-hmm.
even get it on the fifth one, but like 10, 15, 20, whatever. That's like what really happens. Like you become immersed in some sort of ideology or like worldview without realizing it. And that's why it scares old people. Metanorm, trucks aren't the worst. There's plenty of reasons to have a truck. A lot of
Cameron,
people
do you have a truck?
I don't.
Oh.
Uh, but I do enjoy whipping trucks around the woods. I plan on doing that if one day I'm fortunate enough to buy some land. Like I love whipping around the woods in a big old truck. But like that's what I did in the army. Like we used to carry stuff, had to carry supplies out to the field, whatever. Shit's fun. Trucks can make sense in a city too. If you're like a contractor or whatever, vans usually make more sense in a city. But like I think the internet's really, really excited about making generalizations about things in a cynical way. And Chris, I don't know if we brought this up in the last one about comedy. I think we did, but it's been on my mind a lot. Like I've been reflecting on cynicism as a cowardly form of superiority, because like
Mm.
I used to be a pretty cynical dude, and realizing a lot of it was me being like, I'm better than this thing that
Mhm.
is over there,
Mhm.
made me kind of look in the mirror and be like, oh, that's kind of a not that's not the way I want to live my life. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yep.
It's so hard because like within cynicism there is critique, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I do agree with Metamorm here. Like, oh, I ever see a trucks with empty beds and one person driving. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it is like just inefficient in some ways, and you want to point that out.
Sure.
But it's just so hard nowadays because the world's so complex that when you make any single statement, like the context of that statement can never be quite contained, and
For
that's
sure.
why people get canceled and blah blah blah, right? So
Yeah.
like can we use memes to somehow get us out of here, or do you think?
I mean, so I think so my instant response, because I like debating
I
in
don't.
addition, I just like debating things because the act of like I'm reflexively disagreeable, or like I reflexively rebellious.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I hear trucks aren't efficient, my Cameron who wants to win the argument
Mm-hmm.
response, like honestly, is yeah, but when you buy a smart car, you just killed a bunch of kids in a cobalt mine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because the electric battery and rare earth metal mining. And so like it's the everything lives in this like spectrum of shades of gray. And I think our cynicism, I think our like desire to be right in these arguments is really frustration with the fact that the grand narrative of good and bad doesn't make sense when you can see all of the other parts of the world through the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you never had to interact with somebody else on the other side of the world, like yeah, you could just assume that they were the bad guy. But today you can't.
Yeah, it's very hard to reduce whether someone or something is good or bad down to the choice of one vehicle
Yeah.
is the issue, I think.
But it's fun
Actually,
for
Cameron,
your
what kind
team
of
to win.
car do you drive? Are you comfortable disclosing that? I'm
Um,
genuinely curious.
so I have I'm not gonna give the specific model because I don't want to get freaking murdered.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so I've driven, I would say like mid or small SUVs for the past like 7 8 years, just because it's
Okay.
like it makes sense. Like when I was in the army, I always had like rucksacks and stuff to carry around,
Mm-hmm.
but like I didn't want crap stolen out of the back of my truck.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have gotten a truck if I lived in certain areas, but like in the army, it didn't make sense. And then, yeah, mid like a lot of neat, like mid-sized Nissan kind of style SUVs. I
Mm-hmm.
really want a Japanese like work truck. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Like
the
the
really low, cute ones.
yeah. I really want one of those.
Can you buy
The
those like new, or do you have
You
to get
can
them?
import them.
Oh.
There's a handful of importers in the US. I've looked into it. Um,
But don't you have to learn to drive from the other side?
I
Like,
don't
it's isn't it like they sit on the other side, right? Compared to the US?
In
Am I,
Japan? I don't know.
or is it
Chat,
the
tell
same
me. I
side?
don't think so. I think it's the same side. There's only a couple places that are
Oh.
opposite side. Like mostly in the England ex-colonial world.
Mm.
So Metanorm,
No, yeah. Japan is the opposite side. Okay, I
oh,
had to be
cool.
ground
I'd learn
shaking
how
for a
to.
second.
I'll learn how to drive on the opposite. I mean, I already did. I drove around New Zealand, and that was fun.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun thing. I saw this. I forget who. But it was this creator
Mm-hmm.
who's very passionate about like drag and kind of trans rights, and
Mm-hmm.
they're just like, look, man, at the end of the day, big old monster trucks with big tires are just masculine drag.
Mm-hmm.
And so having a giant truck in a way is gender affirming care and practice. And
Yeah.
so like I that really changed how I thought about that. It's like, okay, there's people that don't feel comfortable enough in their own skin and they want to reaffirm what they
Mm-hmm.
believe is the best way to go through the world for them. And if truck nuts are that for you, like, Godspeed, just don't also be racist.
Oh, okay, okay. I did think about buying them, ironically, hang them on my also
Kristen,
mid-sized SUV, but I didn't go through with it. And
speaking of truck nuts, I like
yeah, that
your salmon in the background.
oh yes, yes, thank you. Due to Cameron's feedback that I seem to exist in a void, I'm trying to add some flair to the background. And yeah, I actually, as we were talking about memes, I was thinking like, can I meme the fact that I'm more into redneck stuff than Cameron through the
It's
choice
true.
of my decorations in the background?
Yeah, I mean, like, but by all intents and purposes, you've done more redneck adjacent activities in the past few years than me.
Yes, correct. I think and but the thing is, like, whipping a truck in the woods does sound interesting, but I feel like I already sort of do that with my little SUV through like 4x4 roads, so, and out of
Yeah,
necessity and not fun. So I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like I
yeah.
get exposure
Yeah.
to
You
gender
ever,
affirming care
yeah,
in
you
the
ever gone
masculine
mudding?
direction. No, I haven't. Is that like where you take a truck on muddy roads?
Yeah. I mean, basically,
Oh, not intentionally. I've done it accidentally.
so like there's a whole subculture like of rock crawling and mudding and things
Mhm.
like that. And so like when I was in high school, I had some friends with some lifted Grand Cherokees and stuff, and we would just like go to the woods and find big old mud puddles because like there's like routes and stuff.
Mhm.
All rednecks all know where all that stuff is because like they go out into the woods and drink beer and smoke weed or whatever. And they yeah. And one time, this is actually super. So we talked about my ex-girlfriend's bodybuilder dad last time.
Mhm.
One time my buddy and we were rolling and we saw this big mud puddle, like this big old, we were just like, all right, we're gonna go around that one. We like, it's not a good idea to go in. So we go up, so it's like a puddle on the ground and there's like an angled hillside next to it. And so
Mhm.
we're like, all right, we need some speed to do this right. And so we get some speed, and then but it was like maybe like 40 feet on the hill, like length, and we get halfway across and just like lose all traction on the muddy hillside and slide sideways into this
Yikes.
puddle. And so I'm on the passenger side, he's driving, mud up to the window. It was bad. Anyway, long story short, we couldn't get it out. He had a winch on his Jeep, and so we tried to get it out like with like a tree, just couldn't get the traction. And so I called my ex-girlfriend's dad and my ex-girlfriend's brother, also older brother, also he was more power lifter, so he was even like bigger
Oh my
than
gosh.
it was. Dude, he was huge. And so yeah, and so they come, basically bring all of the bodybuilder crew from the gym to like
Mhm.
basically laugh at me.
Mhm.
And but they hook us up to their like 2 winches. They get side, and they basically pull us sideways out of this puddle. They save our asses. But like, man, great day. Other than like the humiliation in front of my girlfriend's family.
Did you have to, bow your head and be like, "Thank you for helping me out"?
I think I like. So I worked at Steak and Shake in high school. I was a waiter
Oh.
during the church rush on Saturday, Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I saved up all like a weekend, and then I bought their family a Red Lobster dinner. That's what I think I did
Oh, that's
in
so
payment.
sweet.
Yeah.
So
Memes.
yeah, memes. Speaking which today's discussion has turned into the benefits and drawbacks of driving large vehicles. But
Which are memes.
yes, which are memes in themselves. So like, can we use memes to get what we want? I feel like that is the implicit question.
Yes, I would ask, can we use them to get what we want
Mhm.
non-manipulatively? Like,
Yeah, can we?
I mean, I think so. I think that like they're all right. So buy war bonds was a meme in World War II in the US, right?
Mhm.
Like that was a that was a way to get everybody to like coordinate and do a thing, which is basically give the government money to
Mhm.
finance a war.
Yeah.
There was also memes about how if you didn't sign up for war, you
Mhm.
were a coward.
Mhm.
And so like there were like groups of women that would go around and like pin like flowers or whatever on the wusses that wouldn't sign up for war as a way to shame people into becoming cannon fodder, basically. But also the American dream, which a lot of people have feelings about, is also a meme.
Mm.
Democracy was a meme. All the
Mhm.
French Revolution, like all that stuff was a meme.
Yeah.
And so like I think the question is kind of like tantamount to being like, can you use words in a like good or bad way? And the answer is like obviously yes. When I think about like how do
Well,
I
I think
use them?
like there are certain memes that are easier, right? Like cynicism memes, I think are easier than optimism memes. Like which Cool Beans has brought up to be the new radical thing. And of course I'm trying to be more optimistic and to encourage people to be. And I feel like it's so much harder because it's not as like it's not as obvious, I guess.
My gut reaction is that reinforcing memes are easier than contrarian memes.
Yeah.
Because when people feel rich, it's really
Mhm.
easy to be on team, capitalism or whatever.
Mhm.
When people feel poor, it's really easy to be on team anti-capitalism, right? Like
Yeah, like doomerism memes are more popular now because we're feeling globally down.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I like it's an expression of I don't know. There's like a weird bastardization of physics principles here in like inertia,
Mhm.
where an object in motion is like more likely to it's like easier for it to stay in motion than it is to change whatever energy state that it's in terms
Mhm.
of moving around. I
Mhm.
think like emotions and sentiment and things like that are kind of the expression of that. And it goes back to our comedy discussion on Tuesday where we're like, hey, everything happens coordination wise with a
Mhm.
lot less friction and a lot more speed. I think Tech Bros would describe it as like a Paul Graham availability cascade. Maybe I think that's Paul Graham, might be Mark Andreessen. The availability cascade meme is the meme of like everybody piling in on something. Basically, it's like a reskinned reflexivity. It's a reskinned mob energy, basically.
Mhm.
Do you think Trump memes his way into office? I think so.
I think his people did it for him. I don't think he did it himself, but he leaned into it.
So, I mean, you can say a lot of things about Trump, a lot of them not good. The dude is an entertainer first and foremost. Like
Mhm.
full stop. He spent his entire adult life in various levels of the public eye. He understands what is entertaining to
Mhm.
like people, like
Mhm.
lowercase p people,
Mhm.
and he understands it in such a way that like sometimes he I don't even think he realizes he understands it because like
Mhm.
I don't think he's like this giant mastermind. I think in the same way that Kristen and I get on this stream and we're like, oh, that's a good bit. Oh, chat's reacting to this in a way that like is like good, or hey, I think this is like a funny thread for us to keep pulling.
Mhm.
He knows that as good as like any of the top entertainers in Hollywood or on the internet. And like that is undeniable. And in the age of the internet, where like we always knew that people only read headlines for the most part. Like there's a small section of people that do what I would consider meaningful research. And in the world where attention, like dominance, and kind of like the one-linerism of ideas is the most important thing, the entertaining guy is going to be way more popular than the person that like tries to make you think about what's happening. That's not to say I think Trump supporters are inherently dumb, but
Right.
like it's just it is a natural outcome
Mhm.
of the mechanisms that exist.
So actually, this is all bringing up what I wanted to ask you, right? Is that like I think you've lately been casting about how if only people would cast more or post more about their thoughts,
Yeah.
and that'll make the world a better place. And I feel like where I'm sort of stuck is like I feel like okay, I want to be writing more, but then I wonder should I actually be memeing more or like practice the art of memeing because it's a better tool than writing an essay these days,
I
or is it
mean,
like how do you balance those?
I'm always going to ask, like, what are your goals, right?
Mhm,
Because if your goal is to be self-actualized, whatever that means for you in the stuff that you're putting out into the world, that means
mhm,
doing the thing that like makes you feel good. Obviously, and like we're both word people, so writing makes us feel better, like writing long form, um, in various ways. That said, it meets reality too, right? Like we need money to live.
mhm,
We need some sort of momentum for OK Banger to become a successful, show that we can continue to do for a long, long time. And so it's like the balance of the intrinsically, hey, this makes me feel good. Like,
mhm,
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know if I messaged you this. I turned my phone off at 6 p.m. last night, and I didn't
mhm,
turn it on until like I DM'd you this morning,
mhm.
and it's great. And so like
Oh, is that
and it
what you
was
did? I thought good chat. I thought he was just specifically ignoring me on Telegram.
No, I went dark, and I didn't do like a dramatic announcement post about it. I just did.
Oh,
Because
okay, okay.
because
And
my
also confession, I actually sent you like 10 more messages. I deleted all of them.
oh,
Did you
just
see them?
send it. No, I didn't.
I was like, I don't
Because
know
it
what
was
notifications, but then I was like, oh, he probably already knows this. So then I deleted them all back.
yeah. No, the
I'm so
the
happy for you that you went dark.
yeah,
What
it was
timing considering what was happening that I was trying
yeah,
to tell
no,
you about.
internet's bonkers right now. Excuse me. But so okay, so
You should
I
just burp
wanna
into the microphone next time. I think that's good for our soundboard and our Gen
okay,
Z edits.
chat, just let me know, because like I don't want to like make someone retch in the chat, if I'm being completely honest. I want to answer this. Why not both meme about the writing versus
Yeah.
memes? I
Mhm.
think that like okay, it like think about terrorism, right? So the goal of like a terrorist
Mhm.
isn't to win. It's just to make conditions untenable for the
Mhm.
person that they are rebelling against. And
Mhm.
so like the terrorist, the freedom fighter, whatever label you want to give that person, like the guerrilla,
Mhm.
like that person's friend is time, because they won't overpower the power that they're trying to beat, but
Mhm.
they can make it so that they lose popular support in like their country or group of origin. They can make it so that the local population gets frustrated enough with the people coming in that like they just the momentum of the like larger, more well equipped force just goes away.
Mhm.
Um, and so like really all terrorist freedom fighters have to do is like not die, and then make things like painful for the aggressor, like
Mhm.
the big aggressor. Memes are like the same thing. And so like I think it would be good if everybody on the planet read like long form think pieces and spent a lot of time reflecting about it and thinking about it. And at the end of the day, a lot of like really useful memes come out of that exercise.
Mhm.
But like as we've seen with the evolution of communication technology,
Mhm.
the short form stuff wins because it is like much more dopamine packed into a smaller amount of effort to consume. And I
Mhm.
don't see that changing anytime soon.
Mhm.
Um, and frankly, all of the mechanisms that operate the world, like the levers of the world, are also succumbing to that energy too, because there's more things for them to manage. So I would encourage people to do long form stuff if it nourishes them and helps them kind of like refill their creative tanks. But in terms of
Mhm.
practicality, I'm more or less just like, hey, it's way more useful to pump out 100 memes that ultimately sum up to the ideas that you're trying to express in the long form piece versus like doing one long form piece.
Mm. Yeah, I wonder if what Cool Beans recommends here, Full Spectrum Resistance, is about that. Is Adam
I,
McKay the movie director? Adam McKay, the
I
Don't
don't
Look
know.
Up guy. Is that the same one? Um, Asking Cool Beans that question. So I think this is related to my questions about power to you,
Yeah.
which
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for which you replied me with a Hatsune Miku shrimp meme.
Yo,
Um,
that's my new favorite YouTube
it's a
creator.
banger song. So I
The
will
dude's so funny.
I remember played that song about 5 times already. Um, it's a very nourishing song about
Yeah, it's
loving
beautiful.
yourself despite being a
We'll
shrimp.
cast it after this. Yeah.
Yes. Uh, so, should I be practicing the art of influence through memes, through better meming? I feel like you do it naturally because you enjoy it, I think. And whereas for me, I feel like it's not actually in my repertoire of things I think about doing every day.
Well, I mean, we had a really, I think, good show, I don't know, a month or two ago now about whatever you can do the longest, you're gonna be
Mhm.
the best at eventually.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, I spent a lot of my youth as a
Mhm.
weird internet kid watching and experiencing and, like, unironically being a part of memetic waves on the internet in these, like, dark corners of the internet. And
Mhm.
so for me, it's really, really fun to now be part of that machine of creation. And so
Mhm.
like the only reason I do it is because I want to be the thing I want to see more of on the internet, right?
Mhm.
Because like a lot of the people that are posting that I don't think are like great takes or thoughtful opinions or whatever, they post them because they aren't really reflective about that, right?
Mhm.
Or they genuinely believe that's like the best or smartest thing or best thing to post. And so
Mhm.
like if you want to like make change on the internet, there's plenty of ways to do it. One of the ways is to just exist online in a way that you think is worthwhile. And so like I wouldn't encourage somebody to like try to pick up the skill because that feels
Mhm.
very like MBA transactionally to me, even though it might be
Yeah.
like useful. Um, but I get why someone would. It's
Mhm.
just like I don't know. I feel like you can't always tell, but a lot of the times there's like an energy of, oh, this is a psyop when somebody is trying to psyop you, right?
Mhm.
And so, like, a version of an answer to the question that you just asked is like, should I learn how to psyop people with memes? And like, I would say, learn how to identify psyops and then like
Mhm.
psyop stuff that you authentically think should be talked about.
Yeah, because even the word psyop, it's a very scissor statement word, right? Because
100%.
right, because it's like influence is something that can be used as positive or negative. It's value neutral, and I think psyop is also value neutral, right? And if we
Yep.
think that, I think that I guess it is my job to make the world a better place than before I exist in some shape or form. Therefore, it is somewhat my job to influence people in ways that I think it's sort of like pointing out ways in which okay, we can improve things a little bit in this direction, and the most effective way to do that seems to be through memes nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I would say it's like definitely the most cost effective way,
Mhm.
especially now with like the tools that are coming out. Like, I don't know if you're familiar, but like I've watched memetic warfare explicitly evolve, right? Because like
Mhm.
pre Chat GPT kind of stuff, Russia funded meme farms in
Mhm.
like Africa and other parts of the world because they
Mhm.
could get warehouses full of people to crank out memes to trick people on Facebook. Like that's just real. And like the
Exactly.
US government does it too. Um
So that's why I
the
posted that like Yeats poem. I don't
Yeah.
that wasn't super obvious. I was
Yeah.
actually caught up on the line of the best lack all conviction while the worst are full of passionate intensity. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
like going, oh.
Well, okay.
Maybe I need to turn up on the dial of conviction, and maybe I need to do that through memes.
Well, so I love the poem because I like words, right?
Mhm.
And slouching towards Bethlehem is still one of my favorite like lines in all poetry at everywhere.
Mhm.
But I think it's really insane to like project the responsibility of saving the world onto individuals. Like,
Mhm.
if somebody wants to do that of their own free will, by all means do it. But like to make it a should instead of a could, I think
Mhm.
is a tragedy. Because like none of us freaking asked to be here. And so like saying,
Well, we don't
"Hey,
know. We don't know.
I mean okay, I can't objectively say that, but as far as anybody knows, like there's not a bunch of babies preborn being like, "Hey, put me in, coach." Um, I also think it kind of goes to what Cool Beans is saying about virtue signaling. I
Mhm.
think there's a distinction here. Virtue signaling is wearing the trappings of
Mhm.
like good as a way to accrue status or influence other
Mm.
people.
Mhm.
Living authentically a good life is just trying to be the best person that you want to be based off of like your structure of values in the universe.
Mhm.
And I think like that intent is really, really important there. It might not be like distinguishable to other people, but like I really do think the intent matters a lot there.
So there's a few things, right? There is like, whether we are, responsible or not, and whether
Yeah.
we should take on the responsibility of saving the world on ourselves. And
Yeah.
there's also like I think that that's the dynamic, right? Of like making myself happy, which to me does have the component of making other people happy
Yeah.
and like trying to address that, but in a way that doesn't make people think that I think that I should save the world. You know what I mean? Which I think is a lot how a lot of people interpret what I do with my life. But I'm
Yeah.
like, no, like my daily worries are rarely about that. Like it's more like I feel positioned in a way in which I think I should um exert a more influence from my life experiences. I think that's where I feel like of tension and stress these days is because I'm in an environment where I feel like, oh man, a lot of these values actually contrarian to what I think are good values. But
mm,
yet I'm existing in this sphere. Should I work harder at exerting what I think is potentially healthier? With of course without knowing what I think is correct, right? We don't know that.
yeah. I mean, you got a whole system of quasi values that you kind of like carry along in your context from being a Buddhist chaplain, right? And like
Mhm.
that doesn't mean you blindly subscribe to the things that you've like studied, but it does mean that Kristen entering a room and having a conversation has a context with it.
Mhm.
And Cameron's context is I fully reject the concept of like original sin and Catholic guilt, which
Mhm.
is like a version of what we're saying about this like since you didn't choose this you have no responsibility. Like I don't think you do.
Mhm.
I but I also don't think that there's anything else after this. I think the value that you experience in your life is fully and like the result of whatever value structure you apply to the universe about like what is a good thing to do versus not. I
Mhm.
think between other people, we've created a social contract that like roughly equates to like how to be a good person in society. But again, I think we made that up because we figured out it was a more expedient or like more pleasant way to live life, right? Like it's
Mhm.
just more it's better for people capital P if we don't shoot each other to take each other's like shiny rocks or whatever. And
Mhm.
so like that's where I'm coming from. I'm not asserting it's right. It's just like the value structure I've created based off of my life experiences.
So aren't a lot of memes really about that? They are about pointing out social injustice, right? At least the ones that I like. Maybe there's
I
a
th-
bias here.
I think yeah, but I also think a lot of them aren't that deep
Mm,
because people just like jokes.
mm.
And so I don't know what's the question in there.
I don't think I have a question. I think it's very funny, right? We went from like, what are memes to like, what we should do as a person who exists
Yeah.
on this earth. And whether, there is this not really responsibility, but maybe some joy or some something that would make me feel good if I feel like I'm expressing myself. And
Mm,
sometimes that is through memes, right?
yeah.
And like I think
So
it's just like yeah, it's almost like yeah, I feel like people who I think are good actually tend to be less influential because they are really careful about not psyoping other people. But
yeah.
then ironically, that means that the bad people have a lot more influence and net net the world seems to be worse if the good people don't exert their influence.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's like a creeping messianic complex in that statement, right?
Hmm.
In that, like, yes, it's perfectly reasonable to be like, hey, if more good people talk more, the world will be better, and that would probably be good for everybody. But also, the asterisk is just like, so what? And so, because like, just because it's a little bit better doesn't mean you've solved like all the micro problems or macro problems that live somewhere else. So like, it's kind of be like a what's the point kind of thing.
Yeah, so it has to be like selfish
Yeah.
to do good,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
I
It has to
okay.
feel good to do good, or else don't do it, because then you're just like net worse.
Yeah, I mean, there's some utilitarian arguments that you can bring here, but, like, for me, I like
Still watching
thinking
The Good
about
Place.
what was that?
I'm on season 4 of The Good Place. I'm in the last season.
Yeah, that's
That's
our,
also why
that
Chad. So that's also why I keep bringing up these utilitarian, moral good topics, is
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
literally just watching an old Netflix series.
yeah. The, I think it's useful to remember that memes are a technology,
Mhm.
right? Words are a technology, language is a technology, memes are a technology,
Mhm.
and, like, when you start to think about memes, Cameron is very much a bummer. I
I
mean
can't believe I. Oh wow! I think I'm actually winning today in the chat.
I mean, like, I'm just living my life, man. Like, and yapping on
I
the
actually
internet.
okay, so I think Cameron is more directionally correct in pointing out that it cannot be a savior messianic complex. I do agree with that. I just I feel like where I'm failing to express myself is that I physically don't feel well when I don't feel like I'm doing something good. Therefore, it is actually selfish for me to do good.
Yeah. So you've basically psyoped yourself into being a bad person in a way.
Into being a bad person?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
because I have to do good to feel good.
by some metrics, yeah.
Mhm,
So like
mhm,
because like if you are doing good works because you're trying to get into heaven in a lot of measures of philosophy, that's like
mhm,
worse, right? Not saying that you're trying to get into heaven, but that's like the equivalent of like your
mhm,
heaven is feeling a state of like rightness.
mhm.
And so like
I do agree with
solar
that, and you're not the first person to point this out to me about me, by the way. That's
yeah.
why I'm like, "Yes, I've heard this argument before." But I
Solar
can't stop it. So that's why I'm like, "Hmm, but I haven't replaced this programming with any other kind of programming yet that feels better."
yeah, I mean, so Solar Punk, I would very much recommend The Myth of Sisyphus if you haven't read it. That probably is one of the core pieces of philosophy that I've found to be really, really helpful in the sense of like you do the thing of your
Mhm,
daily life knowing
mhm.
that it's absurd because continuing on with the act of absurdity is rebellion against the fact that everything that you do is absurd. And so, like, choosing to do that thing despite knowing it's insane or absurd is like a way of taking control. Because I'm a big control, inner locus of control kind of guy. The like that's a thing that makes me feel more right in my state of the world.
So can I use that same argument for you where your
Sure.
desire for control is in a way like this is similar to what we brought up like many, many episodes ago. This in a way causes a lack of agency.
Say more.
Like it's like one of those like no escape situations, right? I'm using like doing good and being righteous as the thing I want, and that traps me in a certain mode. Whereas if you are constantly rebelling, like you are also trapped in the mode of rebelling. So it's like we're still in the matrix no matter
Can
what.
can you pause for a second? Like the last 30% robotified, and I think it was because a lot of talking was happening at once. I'm very sorry about that.
Oh, it's
Ooh.
okay, but I also don't think that the signals are dependent on whether I'm yapping or not. I think it's just bad internet. Um,
The
like your frame. that one cannot escape from is one of agency and control. Like you cannot use a desire for agency and control to escape the frame either, because it's the same thing.
I think I get what you're saying. I think like the key piece here is that I don't think that there is an escape. I think it's
Yeah.
about
Mhm.
creating like the act of moving towards taking ownership, quotes
Mhm.
around that isn't an act of, hey, this is the best way I think it is to escape this dissonance of existence. I think it's
Mhm.
just a way, it's like the way that I found makes existing the least painful or most enjoyable depending on any given day. And so
Mhm.
like I don't need to exit this infinite cycle. I'm here and I'm just doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so like I don't think that there's an ascendance at the end. I think like dust to dust and whatever dopamine waves you can ride along the way, like cool, just find ones that work for you and maybe sprinkle some libertarianism in there to like not make other people's worse because like if you're okay with making other people's, samsara worse, then you
Mhm.
got to be okay with other people making yours worse, which like I would like to avoid.
So your argument is utilitarian, like, you do your thing, I'll do my thing.
I think you said it's utilitarian. Like, yeah, I would say it's like utilitarian with extra steps,
Mm. I
but
I
it's fun
see
for
your
me.
argument, but it doesn't feel very satisfying for me, and I think I need more time to further emo journal about why that is very unsatisfying.
Straight up right now, you sound like Eve from Wall-E to me. So this is pretty fun.
Okay. Cameron, this has been a simulation all along, and I'm just running out of
Yeah,
memory.
but the solipsism the solipsism of my brain is reaching a critical mass of like, okay, it doesn't have
Mhm.
enough RAM to process this one.
Yeah. Ah, well, okay, so what have we learned today, children? In today's show. Memes
What?
are powerful. Oh, I was gonna
Yeah.
do a summary. Memes are powerful.
Yeah.
Kristen and Cameron left off on an unsatisfying ending regarding the meaning of
Appropriate.
life. As with every episode, this is our version of
Yeah.
Pinky in the Brain. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
are
yeah.
we doing today? Debating the meaning of life.
I don't know. Probably memes, actually, if we get down to it.
Hmm. Yes, we need to seize the memes of production.
Yeah. I'm a fan, but I'm
Yeah.
having a good time.
Um, I think like there is something here where but if we're just chasing feelings, as you pointed out, that's also not satisfying to me, you know? Like I
Sure.
am constantly seeking for the ultimate transcendent thing. Which is so funny that you say you're not into that because you write about transcendence way more than me.
So, okay. So what I like view it as, because like so I bring up this Cameron's a chill guy that just doesn't give a fuck. I think that like is mostly true.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm so dramatic. Like you see it in our chats, but like I I love the crests and troughs of emotional experience
Mhm.
to a point that it's like very hard to succinctly describe. There's obviously some narcissism in that statement saying that like I can't describe how much I feel.
Mhm.
But that's like why I try to through poems and songs and things like that. But it's like it's an appreciation for the nuance and the variability and the deviations of the human experience because at the end of the day, that's kind of all I think we've got. And so it's not like I don't give a fuck about things. It's like I
Mhm.
really care about things. And the fact that I like really care about things means that I have to let most of it go because things are going to keep happening no matter what I feel about it. Right? Like every experience is
Mm.
transient. Every value is just a collective hallucination by groups of people. And that's a bummer for some people. For me, it's beautiful because like if it was permanent and true, it's not really interesting anymore because like, all right, the answer is like you found the right answer, you can stop looking.
I see. So you're experiencing the experience.
Yeah.
Very zen, actually.
I try. I actually read the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance when I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know, 13 or 14. And like maybe ever since then, I was just like, oh, damn, all of the universe is contained on like your motorcycle trip across the West in a way. And that's really cool.
Mhm. A confession, I never made it through the entire book.
That's okay. I really like motorcycles, so that's why I did.
Oh, all right. Well, I think we should end it here.
Anyway, cheer up, Buttercup. Things are
Yeah.
gonna get better or worse. Doesn't
Well,
matter.
tell folks like three tips to make better memes.
Uh,
Oh,
shorten it. Figure out how to make it relatable to the specific group you're sending it to, like explicitly, and make that obvious.
mhm.
And then share it a lot more than you think you're comfortable with.
All
That's
right.
it. Oh, we got this theme back. Thanks for
Yes.
sticking all the way through to the end.
Yeah.
Especially with Cameron being the bummer today.
I don't think you were a bummer. I think you were a optimist through nihilism.
An unhinged optimist. That's what we're going for right now.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us, Cool Beans. I see you switch accounts sometime in the middle.
Metanorma, I
Priyanka.
appreciate the hate. It keeps me strong.
I feel like I know who Metanorm is now. Curious Hermit. Thank you so much for joining us, Farcook.
Woo!
All right.
Shout out. Yeah, Bummeron's pretty fun.